24, verse 1. Hold on. Okay, chapter 24, verse 1. And Avraham Zakein Baba Yamim. Avram was getting older. Hashem Beirachat Avraham Bakol. God blessed Abraham with everything. This is one of the great Rashis. What does it mean? Hashem blessed Avram with everything. Rashi says, Bakol, Oeb Gematria Ben, that the word Bakol, which is 52, has the Gematria meaning son. Means to say, Me'acha Shehaya Ben, Haya Tzarich Hasil Isha. So since Avram had everything, i.e. he had a son, so therefore he had to find a wife for his son. There's a different midrash which says that Avram had a daughter named Bakol. Maybe Rabbi Yosef could pull up that midrash on Safaria. Hello, Shapsel and Thera. So there's a different midrash which says that Avram had a daughter named Bakol. So anyway, that says that Hashem blessed Avram with everything, and now he needs to find a wife for his son. Chapter 24, verse 2. Vayomer Avram el Avdo, Zikan Beito, Hamoshel B'kol Hashelo. And Avram said to his servant, the elder of his house, the Zikan Beito, the elder of his house, Hamoshel B'kol Hashelo, who was in charge of everything that Abraham owned. He said, Simna Yadcha Tachat Zirechi. Place your hands under my thighs. Let's look at Rashi here. Zikan Beito, that's a grammar one, we skipped that. He says, place your hands under my thighs. Why does he say, place your hands under my thigh? Rashi says, Lafisha Shahanishpa, one who takes an oath, Sarach Sheyitol Biyado Chayfet Shal Mitzvah. When you take an oath, you have to hold a mitzvah. Could go and say for Torah. It used to be the practice, and you take an oath, you would hold a Torah scroll, or tefillin. This is what the Gemara in Shavuos 38b talks about. Since circumcision was the first mitzvah Avram was specifically commanded to do, and he got this mitzvah through a lot of pain because he was 99 and he had to recover. And was very precious. So therefore, he says to Eliezer, hold on to this mitzvah. I want to just say, before we get to Jerry's question, that it's not just Avraham and Eliezer, that this is the way that they used to take oaths in the ancient world. And that's why the word, should I say, I'm not sure if it's like inappropriate, but the word for male testicle.
Penis.
No, not that word. The male testicles is the Latin word for testis, testi, which means to testify, witness, because they used to hold on to that. Okay, so that's why they used to hold on to that word. Okay, so Jerry, so that's why we have that word. That's where it comes from, because in Latin court, in Roman courts, that's what they used to hold on to. Jerry, you had a question.
You anticipated my question. Was this common in the other cultures that Abraham lived in? And you answered that question.
Well, I don't know if it was common in the cultures that Abraham lived in. I know that at a later point in history, maybe like 1,500 years later, it became common. But I assume that it was common because, you want to scare somebody. That's how you do it.
But how did women accept an oath or a promise?
Couldn't swear.
Well, that's a very good question. Well, women could swear. Well, women are not allowed to be witnesses, but we know that there are cases in the Bible where the women have to take an oath, like a Soto woman has to take an oath. So she would have to hold a different mitzvah, but they had less leverage over her, probably. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had the Megillah that the Kohen wrote.
Yeah, so she'd have to hold
Megillah
that.
Sotah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. What did
There-
Rabbi Goldman say?
He said that there was a scroll that they would write the passage of the Sotan from the Torah, and she would
Yeah,
hold that before drinking it.
right. I see. Okay, thank you.
Sure, sure. So now we go back to the verse. Vashpiacha ba'Hashem Elokei Hashemayim. Abraham says to his servant, who we said was Eliezer. Rashi says the servant was Eliezer. Well, he hasn't said it yet, but he will say it. But the passage only called him by his name, the servant. I take you, make you take an oath by the God of heaven, okay, Aretz, and the God of earth. Will not take a wife for my son, from the Canaanite daughters. Says, I make you promise, don't take a wife from the Canaanites. Because to my land and to my kindred spirits you shall go. Meaning to say, you need to go back to my birthplace. And there you'll take a wife for my son Isaac. Abraham has not said why. He hasn't said why you have to go back to my birthplace. Later on in the portion, in next week's portion, we see a hint to it, because later on we see that Yitzchak says she can't bear the fact that Esav has a wife from the daughters of Chet, right? We see that she was disgusted by that, right? That Esav, that it says that Esav was 40 years old, and he took a Yehudit who was the daughter of Be'eri, by the way, ironically, Kibbutz Be'eri, what? The Chiti, and he took Basmat, the daughter of Elon, the Chiti. He took two Chiti women, and it was very bad in the eyes of Rebecca and Isaac. So it doesn't say why there either.
But weren't these two women not from Abraham's tribe or background?
Yeah, so Esav took two women who were not from Abraham's tribe. So
Right, right.
but
And that's why Rebecca was very angry. Yes.
Rebecca was very angry, and that's why she sent Yaakov back to her homeland to get a wife. But it doesn't say here why Yitzchak had to take a wife from Abraham's birthplace. Okay, we go on. I'm sorry.
The Canaanites were abhorrent. They had idols all over the place.
Where has it said that?
No, I'm mentioning this, and it's not in the text. It's
We haven't said that. I'm just saying the text itself has not said why. He hasn't given a reason in the text. Rashi's the assumption is that they're bad, but
yes.
the text doesn't say it. It could be that he just says, I want you to keep it in the family, but he hasn't said it. But we'll see.
When Eved says to Abraham that what should I do if she doesn't want to come, he says that en arur devek bebaruch.
That's what Rashi says.
Right. That they're
Rashi
cursed.
says that, but there is textual evidence why he wants to get a wife from his family, and that evidence is the test that the servant devises. He devises a test that shows her positive qualities, and this proves that the reason why, or this indicates that the reason why Abraham wanted to take a wife from the not from the Canaanites, was because the people from his family had the Abrahamic qualities of hospitality and kindness, unlike the Canaanite qualities which Sodom has, which lack in hospitality. So that's the That's the best indication I could think of. Okay, so then it says, Vayomer Lav ha'eved. So he says, verse 4, he says, go back to my birthplace and take a wife for my son. And the servant said to him, maybe this woman won't want to come after me. So he says, let's see, she doesn't want to come after me. Should I return your son to the land that you left from? So this is kind of like a suspicious question. Why would you speak a negative possibility into existence? Why would the servant look at that scenario? Is he an attorney? He has to look at every single possible bad outcome in order to counsel his client? Maybe. But it seems Rashi reads it that he was angling to get his own daughter in there somehow. Vayomer elav Avraham, and Abraham said to him, Yishamer lecha, be careful. Pen tashivet b'ni shema, don't bring my son back. Do not. So he says, let's say the woman won't want to come. He said, no, you can't bring Isaac there. You can't bring Isaac there. You ever hear the expression? You ever hear the expression? You have a daughter, she's your daughter for life. You have a son, he's your son till he gets a wife. That's not Abraham's motto. Abraham is saying, no, 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 no. You cannot go there. Hashem, Hashem, the God of my heaven, who took me from the house of my father in the land of my birthplace, and Vasher Diberle, who spoke to me, Vasher Nishbali more, who swore to me, saying, to your seed I will give this land. Hu yishlach melachol lefanecha, he will send his angel before you. V'lakachta isha levni misham, and you will take a wife for my son from there. Rashi says the following: Hashem Elokei Hashemayim Asher Kachani Mibeit Avi. Hashem, the God of the heavens, who took me from the house of my father. What does that mean? He didn't say the God of the earth. He only says the God of the heavens. Rashi's bothered by that. Above this it says, but above he said, I make you take an oath from the God of the heavens and the God of the earth. And now he's just referring to the God of the heavens. Why is that? Amar Avram said to his servant, now Hashem is just the God of the heavens, and the God of the earth. Because I made people aware of him. But when he took me from my father's house, he was just just the heavens knew about him, not the people on the earth. Because the people of the world didn't know of God. And his name was not mentioned on the earth. Jerry, you had a question.
Only that Eliezer was formulating plan B when he said, maybe she won't come with me. What will I do?
A legitimate question. How do I know a total stranger is going to be willing to come with me to marry, to do this marriage? But
right. How do we know that Eliezer was married and had children?
Well, no, we don't know because the text doesn't say it anywhere, but Rashi indicates he was, and the presumption was that he must have been married and have children because they didn't have unmarried people back then. They didn't have unmarried people. They got married. That was it.
Okay.
Do you know any bachelors in the Torah? Are there any bachelors in the Bible? Only till a certain age.
Samson was a bachelor.
No. Samson was a serial marry. He married so many people. He kept taking wives. Just the opposite. Samson kept marrying.
Nadav and Avihu were bachelors, and that's part of their sin.
Well, their text, right? The text never says who their spouses are, but they died. They died before they could get married, and that's one of the.
They were already age of service.
Right. So they were the only ones who didn't get married yet.
I'm sorry. Who?
Nadav and Avihu, they don't list
yes.
their wives, but Rashi
Right.
says that's one of the reasons why they were
Yeah.
killed by Hashem, because they didn't get married. But today, people look for love before getting married. But in the time of the Torah, in the time of the Talmud, that wasn't a factor. It was you got married, the community made you get married. That was the answer.
Isn't it the surest way of preserving a woman from a life of poverty?
Well, they would marry off the girl when she was very young, and Tosfos says because that's the way they could make sure to provide for her. So they betrothed her at a very young age to make sure that this would not be a girl who nobody, like they wanted to forestall the possibility that she would be unmarried. And that's why it said that in the Gemara that we just saw recently, one of the rabbis who was a Kohen betrothed himself to 300 widows so that they could eat from his truma, because they wanted to make this a way of caring for the women. Okay, Rashi says that Abraham says, God brought me from the house of my father. That's Haran. Ume'eretz moladati. That's Or Kasdim. For my birthplace, that's Or Kasdim. Vasher diberli, and God spoke to me. Vasher nishbali, and he took an oath for me. What does that mean? God spoke to me, Utsarki, for my needs. Okay, we'll skip the rest of the Rashi. Vasher nishbali, and God took this oath to me where? Bein Abitarim, at the covenant between the parts. That's the oath that God promised in this land. Rashi says, V'im lo tovah isha orachat acharacha. Let's say this woman does not want to come back after you. She decides she wants to stick it out in the other side, in Or Kasdim or Haran. She wants to stay there. V'nikisa mishvua sizot. You're going to be absolved of this oath. Raket b'ni lo tashev shama. Whatever you do, my son cannot go there. Abraham cannot go there. Excuse me. I'm sorry, we're trying to say something, Shepsel? What? Yitzchak was an Ola Tamima. He was never able to leave the land. Isaac was never able to leave the land. He was connected to the land. When he kisa mishvua sizos, Rashi says, "V'kacho isha mibenos aner eshkol v'mamrei." And if that happens, then you could take a wife for him from aner eshkol and mamrei. Now, even though these were children of Canaan, and Abraham said that Eliezer or the servant cannot take a wife from the daughters of the Canaanites, this was the second best option, because Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre, they are the ones who advised Abraham to circumcise. They said, listen to God and do the circumcision in public. So they were tzaddikim. But they were still Canaanites. So this also goes against the question, what was so bad about the Canaanites? If you say that they were all idolaters, well, it can't be, because Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre were tzaddikim. They were giving Abraham good advice. Yes, I'm sorry, Thea has a question, and then Jerry, yeah.
So later on, morality that they had. So it's later, but it's still in the Torah that.
Yeah, so we know that the Canaanites will certainly do a lot of idolatry, and we know that they were Sodom. Sodom was part of the Canaanite families, so we know that they're bad, but not a Eshkol and Mamre. Right, your theory is correct. Yeah, Jerry.
The comment you made reminds me of a story that occurred many, many years ago. The
Okay.
the Secretary of Education in Israel came to give a talk here in Washington, and in the talk he mentioned Abraham was the first Ola, his son Yitzchak was the first Sabra, and Yitzchak was the first Sabra, and Yaakov was the first Ola.
Mm-mm. Yaakov was not the first Oeh. Yaakov was the first Yored.
You're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You were at that talk, Jerry?
Pardon?
Were you at that talk?
Yes, yes.
When was it? When was it?
Oh, many, many, many years ago. I can't give you the year that took place.
Jerry, we discussed this on Thursday. Jerry was alive and remembers well every war in Israeli history. He was. Were you drafted into World War II, Jerry?
I spent a little time in the Navy.
Yeah, World War II. So he's a World War II veteran. So Jerry's seen this rodeo before, that what Israel is going through. You've seen Israel under attack, and that's it. Not too many people can say that they're World War II veterans and they're studying Rashi today. Okay. So then, hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. What does the pasuk say? And then he says, "V'nikisa mishvuoti zot," and you'll be absolved of this sin. Okay, rak et b'ni, only my son. Rak miutu, the word rak means a limiting. B'ni eno choser, my son can't go there. Aval Yaakov, as Jerry was saying, but Jacob, ben b'ni, my grandson, sofo achsar. My son is the only one who can't go there, but Jacob can.
That's because of the Akeda.
Well, here Rashi doesn't say that the reason is because of the Akeda. Here Rashi says that the reason is because he just doesn't say the reason yet. But later on, Rashi says that Isaac was never allowed to leave the land when Isaac was thinking of going down during a famine. That Isaac couldn't leave because he went up on the altar during the Akeda. But it could be that Avram felt that if he would have left right away, they wouldn't have been settled in the land. First, you have to have a place to live. You have to have a legacy there. You have to have something for Yaakov to return to. You need to entrench the land. Something very interesting is, it's hard. You read these portions now, and of course, everything I'm thinking about what's going on in Israel. That I feel like if Hamas had done nothing, we were on a path, Israel was on a path of self-destruction. But because Hamas attacked, they now say over 300,000 Israelis have returned to Israel in the last month, which means that 300,000, now not all of them are going to stay, but I think that it's awakened a very strong national sentiment to remain there. So more than any, like the amount of Jews who make Aliyah from Israel a year from America is like less than 5,000, and the only Aliyah source is like from the Far East, from former Soviet Union countries when there's a war. So this is the most successful Aliyah probably ever, because of Hamas. They encouraged us to go back home. And so they have, for sure, what was tremendous tragedy, and we cry, but they have caused us to become stronger than we've ever been before in my lifetime. Because they reminded us of that, reminded us of what's at stake. We had taken it for granted.
The other positive development is the Haredim are volunteering and they're serving people, they're taking care of it.
It's-
So that was a point of contention.
Yeah.
Because they weren't serving in the army, so they're volunteering and they're doing whatever they can. They're
Mm,
babysitting, they're forbearing.
You're exactly right.
Actually,
Yeah, they had 150 of them just finished their basic training. And not only that, there was the Brothers in Arms, which was the main opposition to Netanyahu's judicial plan, on a dime turned, and it's all chesed, all kindness. And I see even the Haredim who are not serving in the armed forces, they're all kindness now. They're like working 24 hours a day for the state of Israel, for the people of Israel. So it's something that's unusual in my life. It's almost messianic, the unity of the Jewish people now. Now, yes, Jerry, you had a question.
Well, on NPR, I heard that the Israeli government contacted all of these young men who left Israel and were working, elsewhere in the world. It was a draft call, and Israel, for the first time, sent the El Al airplane on a Shabbat to give free passage back to Israel for these young men that have been given the draft call.
I don't know if they got free passage, but I did hear that El Al flew on Shabbos, and I heard another story, and I saw this, that there was a Haredi man who stood at the counter, and anytime a person came back and he wanted to go on the plane and he had a draft call, he paid for his ticket. That every ticket was paid for, right?
At JFK.
At JFK.
Over 250 tickets.
You paid, so you saw that story. So that's just an unbelievable thing, that he just paid for all the soldiers to go back. Just took it upon himself.
Starting this afternoon, they're starting a night learning, especially between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Israel time, because that's the most dangerous time during the night. So in the yeshivas, they're all taking 20 minutes of learning. I can send you the link on.
I saw that. All right. It's time to do the mincha now. Let me just press stop on the recording.